Welcome back to the Everyday Finance Podcast, where we are working with the everyday person to maintain financial security and establish financial independence. Now, today, Garrett and I, we have a video which we think you must watch before your next car purchase or even your first car purchase. And we're going to go over some ways that you can ensure that your car purchase is the best and most secure financial decision that you could possibly make on that. And, that way, you're not putting yourself in a bad situation. We just want to make sure that you can gather some insight from this and, avoid some of the biggest mistakes. Now, before we jump right into it, I'm going to toss it over to Garrett. He's going to give you a very special announcement.
All right, guys. So we do have that $25 gift card giveaway for our 100 subscriber milestone. So please share it around, like, comment, and subscribe so we can build this up. Once we do hit that 100 subscriber mark, we're going to be rolling out $25 giveaway. Ways to enter is going to be like for an entry, comment for an entry. Thanks for listening, guys, and we'll get right to it.
Thanks for that, Garrett. You guys should definitely check it out and make sure you hit the notification bell. That way you don't miss the video when our entry is being taken. All right. So, what I wanted to talk about is basically what I think is the crux of the most important part of your car buying purchase. And what I think is the most important part about any financial decision that you can make. And that's really just being informed. You want to make sure you're basically the most informed person on this vehicle that you know. You don't want to have someone come up to you that's going to tell you some stuff about it that's going to affect your car buying purchase here that you're not going to know. You want to know everything about it. You want to know the interest rate you're going to pay if you're financing it. You want to know the price that the ones in the area are selling for. You want to know the deals and when they come out, if there's any. And you just want to make sure that you have a bountiful amount of information to make your choices off of. And that's honestly going to be the biggest thing, regardless of anything, to ensuring you make the smartest financial decision. Now, part of that is obviously just knowing how much you can afford. But in that, it can get murky and there's a lot of choices and decisions. So one big thing for me that I like to think of is, what are you looking for? Do you want to buy a new car? Do you want to buy a used car? There's a lot of things that go into both of those. And, something that's really important that you might need to know is if you're looking at buying a new car, dealerships, they actually make a lot of their money off of their in-house financing and even just trading off the financing to other lenders if they just don't trust your credit score. They make a lot of money from that. And you got to know, regardless of how amazing of a negotiator you are, how gung-ho you are, how much you've studied, if you're going for a new car, you might not be able to actually get the best deal if you just decide to pay cash. So even though financing a car can be a financial disaster if you do it wrong, it's actually going to be one of the ways that you get the best deal. Now, besides that, Garen will get into more of the negotiation tactics and some of the ways that you can help yourself. There's something you should note. Once again, for buying a new car, if you have excellent credit, and this is something that's going to affect your chances and your cost of buying a new car, especially financed. If you have excellent credit, you can expect to pay an average credit score of 4.9%. Now, that is higher than, per se, a mortgage and about on par with a lot of student loans, but it's a lot lower than credit cards and some other loans you may take out. So, it doesn't seem too shocking. But what you need to, watch out for is, of course, the lending. You need to make sure you're not overpaying on the lending if that's what you're doing. Now, it may be exactly what you want to do, even if you have the cash. That way you can just deploy it elsewhere. But of course, maybe you think, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to buy a used car. That way I can get rid of that depreciation curve right off the bat. As you may know, most cars, they lose most of their depreciation within the first 5 years, and it slowly depreciates thereafter. So if you can buy even just, 2-3 years old, you can be dropping most of the money that's going to lose. You just take the last 2 years if you buy 3 years old, and you can avoid some of that. It's a really smart decision. Unfortunately, right now, used car prices have come up a lot, but in typical markets, that's a great way you can do it. And you just need to make sure you stay up to date on the cars. They've been out, so you can look up how reliable they are, if any recalls have been done, and that can save you a lot of money. Now, besides any of that about, your main decisions and everything, of course, if you're not informed, you need to rely completely on negotiations because you're just trying to get them down on a price that you don't know anything about. And hopefully you do know, and you know what their price is at, and you can work on it. And I think Garen's going to bring a little bit of that in here.
So I know Alex touched a little bit on the higher spectrum of the credit score. Before I get into it, I did want to let you guys know that if your credit score is actually under 600, you could be paying substantially more than most people on your auto loan. Some people have actually seen percentages upwards of 16% on the auto loan. So if your score is in this range, please understand that purchasing a car at that time will be a lot more expensive for you. But when it comes down to it, you should understand that when you're purchasing a vehicle, the price is not actually typically set, whether it's a new car or a used car. There's a lot less wiggle room when it comes to with the new cars, but with used cars, there's a lot of fees and extra added stuff that dealerships like to add onto it, plus a premium, just because they have the ability to get that money out of you. So always negotiate, always haggle in order to get that cheaper price, respectively, because it can help you. It can save you thousands of dollars in your vehicle purchasing. So one of my favorite things to actually look out for when you are negotiating and speaking is that salesmen like to tell you stories. Don't believe all the stories that car salesmen tell you. It is their job to build rapport and to build a relationship with their customer in order to have you guys feel safe and comfortable with making that vehicle purchase. So there's nothing saying that car salesman isn't going to maybe stretch the truth a little bit, or even try to play off of some of your likings in order to build a better bond with you to make that sale. So they aren't really here to help you. They're more so here to make money. So please watch out for it. The worst thing a car salesman can actually hear is, I have to go check with blank. This being, I have to go check with my wife. I have to go check with my husband. I have to check with my family, my dad. The reason for this is because you're putting a break and another opinion, another perspective in between the salesman, the sale, and you. So the car salesman doesn't find that helpful, so to say, at least in his perspective. So by bringing in something like that, he'll actually be able to lower your pricing, because they're going to try to make that deal with you. They're going to try to get you not to check with that person, because that's another person that can convince you out of that deal. The car salesman wants to keep you in there. So always bring up that point towards the end of the conversation. Oh, I have to go check with my wife or my husband or whoever that person is, because 9 times out of 10, you're going to be able to lower your price on the purchase. Finally, my favorite thing is actually waiting till the end of the month to make your purchase. This is actually because the salesman is trying to meet their quotas and build the largest commission check they can for the end of that month. On top of that, the dealership is also trying to fill quotas and keep inventory flowing. So they're going to try to finish off that month strongly and sell those vehicles. So purchasing at the end of the month can actually get you cheaper pricing.
Definitely. Tactics like that can save you a bunch of money. Waiting towards the end of the month, the dealers, the salespeople, they're always trying to, get that next bonus for how many cars they sell. And the dealership, they need to offload stuff. So it's a great strategy, and you'll know in your area what times of year they also do sales as well, where maybe you can try to double stack, when they're really trying to push it. But I want to get back to a little bit more about, what I talked about before with used cars and new cars. And, I just wanted to talk about basically when you're looking at used cars, something that's really important, especially as they get older, past that 5-year mark, like I said, in the depreciation curve, they do start to become more unreliable in a lot of cases, especially dependent on miles. And it's something you need to look out for, and it's something you need to know about. Like I said, you just need to be informed. But you also need to know your true capabilities when it comes to how much you can actually pay for repairs and how much it's actually worth. And you really just need to always run the numbers, run it for everything. If you drive a lot for work, maybe a lease deal just isn't right because you're going to go over on the miles. Maybe you don't drive that much, but you need a certain car for work, and buying it is going to make it depreciate too much in the term. So, maybe it's actually a better deal to lease it. And realistically, to make the best financial decision, I think you just really need to go over the numbers and, have a plan for the vehicle. Do you have it for a purpose? Is it for work? Is it for your business? Or is it a toy that you're going to drive on the weekends? Or is it just your personal daily driver that gets you back and forth to and from work? You need to know what it's for. That way you can make the proper decision. And it's something that's huge because it plays in for businesses a lot. And, lease deals are some of the greatest things for businesses when they need company cars. They don't drive them too much and it's only for work purposes. And they can get a great deal. It's write it off on their taxes, which may be something good for you if you own a business. And this could really help out, the actual overall financial decision here. So every option needs to always be accounted for, including the most niche of all of them, which I'm about to mention here. And that's actually vehicles as an investment. So I talked about the depreciation curve and how vehicles can depreciate, but actually some vehicles can appreciate and actually gain money. Now, this is something where, once again, you need to be even more informed than before, because you need to know about the car market and car buyers and sellers. Now, luckily for me, I'm a bit of a car guy. I truly love sports cars and all different kinds of interesting vehicles. So it keeps me a little bit in tuned on what people like, and me wanting to buy cars like that as well means that there's usually a solid market for people who would like cars geared towards enthusiasts. So something interesting to note is even with these enthusiast cars, you'll have depreciation and you can lose a lot of money, but even some new cars can appreciate right from their new price because they're so rare. But the most important thing for deciding whether your car is going to appreciate or depreciate is how common it is. Of course, the desirability of that car, because if it's a limited edition Toyota Camry and nobody cares about it, it's probably not going to appreciate too much. Although, one of the most important things to reduce the depreciation on your car is to have an older car. Even if it's going to cost you more in maintenance, you're going to reduce the depreciation, and it's always a trade-off. So you got to know about the car. You got to find something you're passionate about. That way you don't mind spending time figuring out problems, but you can always save money by buying an older car that's not going to lose you in depreciation, and it can even save you on insurance.
So there's a lot of factors that play into actually making that purchase. A lot of people, especially when they're first trying to get into the mood of purchasing a vehicle, they really think it's about finding the vehicle, finding something they like, finding something in their price range, and then boom, purchase is done. Now, as great as that seems and as easy as it seems, that's not necessarily the case. You have to factor in depreciation, you have to factor in mileage, you have to factor in wear and tear and maintenance, any repairs that you're going to have to do in that time frame, potential recalls or anything that happens, inconvenience. There's a lot of things that you have to really think about in order to make that purchase, because if you don't, you could really find yourself in some muddy waters in the future. So my personal recommendation would actually be to make an Excel spreadsheet when looking at vehicles. Do a lot of due diligence, make an informational section that has all the information on the vehicle, and then have a comparison section that compares all of the vehicles to each other, the benefits, the positives, the negatives, all that stuff, in order to kind of narrow it down to what you really want. And then you have to really compare, the wear and tears, the maintenances, and all that stuff to see what's going to cost you either less or will be more beneficial to you in that case. So please do your due diligence when purchasing your vehicles, because it could really come back and bite you in the butt if you don't do your research.
Definitely, I couldn't agree more. And I think that's probably one of the most important pieces that we can leave off on. And I think we'll probably touch on this topic a lot more later, because I know a lot of people are interested in this. And, cars may not be the biggest purchase, but they can be one of the worst financial mistakes that you make if you go about your car buying wrong. So this may be something we add some more information onto. And if you'd like to hear any more from us, just go ahead and leave a comment with a question and we'll answer right back to you. We answer back to every single comment. So if you're wondering anything or you want to know about something that we left out, just go ahead and ask us. And now I'd just like to thank the video sponsor, the like button. So if you like the video and you haven't already, go down below and click the like button. It would support us a lot in helping the channel grow. So thank you for that. And if you'd like to see more, just go ahead and subscribe and click the notification bell so that you don't miss us here on the Everyday Finance Podcast, where we are working with the everyday person to maintain financial security and establish financial independence.